How's it going, everyone? This is the Manuscript Podcast, the podcast where we believe 21st century man controls his destiny, that his choices define his future, and that he writes the script to his own life. I'm your host and fellow man, Reuben Stamper, and as always, it is an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to have you here with me today. Thank you so much for giving me your time, sharing your time with me. If you get something out of this episode, please, for the love of Pete, 2024, consider hitting that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me, and it helps other men hear this message, and hopefully that helps them. That is the whole point of this channel. So, anyways, I am super stoked for today's episode. I'm also running off an entire pot of coffee, so that may play a bit of a role in it, but we are talking all about discipline in the first part of this podcast. I'm stoked. Let's go. Okay, everyone, I am very, very excited to talk about discipline and how you instill it into your life, because I have recognized that in the past couple episodes that I've done, everything I've talked about, whether it's virtue or different principles a man should try and live by if he wants to be happy, or habits a man should try and instill if he wants to be happy, all these things require discipline. So, if you don't have discipline, none of this shit I've talked about before matters, because you won't do it. I won't do it. If we don't have discipline in our lives as men, we won't accomplish the things we set out to accomplish. So, before we get into this conversation of how do you build discipline, how do you put it into your life, I figured we should get a definition so we all know that we're on the same page. So, here's a definition that I found. I actually found two that I want to share with you. So, what is discipline? According to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, discipline is either control gained by enforcing obedience or order, or training that corrects, molds, or perfects the mental faculties and moral character. I thought those are pretty solid definitions, and they kind of give you different aspects of what discipline is. So, like I said, everything I've talked about up until this point requires discipline. So the question is, how do you build that discipline? In order to answer that question, I called up one of my buddies. We'll just call him Bob, okay? And Bob is a bodybuilder. Right? He's a very, very disciplined man. And it's something I've actually, since the moment I met him, we talked about things, and I was like, damn, I really respect this guy. He definitely puts in the work, and he works very hard to accomplish his goals. To give you an example of that, when I first met him, he was bulking, right, for this bodybuilding competition, and he would wake up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, eat a very specific diet, do his work, go to the gym, crush it, come back home, be asleep by 6:30 every night. And he was like, yeah, I don't have much of a social life because I go to bed at 6:30, but he's like, this is what I'm trying to accomplish right now. This is the discipline that's required to try and be the best and to win this competition. And so I was like, damn, okay, that's hardcore, but honorable. That's cool. So I was like, okay, this guy is incredibly disciplined. He's probably got some thoughts on how to build discipline and put it into your life as a man. So I gave him a call. And when we got into this conversation, I had 2 points I wanted to bring up, and then he gave me something back that I think is a very, very juicy idea you guys are going to like. So the 2 things I brought to the table are, first off, I think you need to know your why, okay? And you need to remind yourself of that. And that's just the idea of not letting your goal get out of hand. Know why you want to do something, and then remind yourself constantly when you're on that path to accomplishing that goal, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this. And like, for instance, if you want to get in shape, is it because you want to look good? Is it because you want to be healthier? You're sick and tired of going to the doctor, and the doc's like, dude, your cholesterol is crazy high and you're on the brink of death. I don't know why you want to get in shape. Is it because the culture and the society around you says you've got to be in shape to be successful? I don't know. I don't know what your reason is. I don't know what your why is, but you need to figure it out, okay? And it's the same for me when I'm trying to accomplish something. I need to know my why, and then I need to latch my teeth into it like a dog that just caught a rabbit. Like, don't let that thing go. Just gnash in there, man. Get it, okay? And the idea is goals can sometimes get away from you when you don't remind yourself why you're doing them. And sometimes it's a long road to accomplish a big goal. Like maybe you're trying to take a class on the side. Maybe you are trying to work extra to pay off some debt, or whatever it is in your life. That may be a longer goal. You have to remind yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And that brings me to the second point that I brought to the conversation, which is everyone's got different personalities. I mean, I think we know this at this point. Some people are like lone wolves, self-motivation, hustle. I can go get it done by myself. I don't need anybody else, just grind through things. And that's some personality types, and I think that's awesome. I mean, I think that's great. There are also people that they don't like the price of self-motivation is not enough for them. And this is something I'd thought of was there's tons of studies out there that show that if you or I pay for something, we're much more likely to do it, okay, to actually partake in it. So if we pay for a class, if we pay for a teaching session, we are much more likely to actually engage and go to it and all that good stuff, right? Because there's a price. It's like, well, there's a cost to this thing, so I actually am losing something if I don't go. And so with that in mind, I think some people need accountability partners. I think it helps everybody to have an accountability partner. But if you have certain goals in mind that you and someone else share, make that person your partner. If it's like, okay, I want to read this book because it's got topics that I think are really interesting that I would love to discuss with someone, then you guys need to set up an end date of like, we're going to have this book done by this time so we can talk about it. And the reason the accountability works is because there's a price. The price is if I don't do the thing I said I was going to do with this person, then that person, A, has one up on me because they did it, and B, that person's going to berate me and give me shit because I didn't do what I said I was going to do. Right? It's kind of, in a way, dishonorable. It's like, okay, you said you were going to do this thing with me, and then you're backing out. Like, what is up with that? And so there's a price there. It's like that price of shame and guilt and, like, unaccomplishment, that disappointment, it's a price. And so you're much more likely to actually do something if someone else is with you and pushing you on and helping you through something. And so the second thing I brought to the table was like accountability. Some people, some personality types, the self-motivation, I need to beat me from yesterday, that idea, that competition, it's not enough. And so having someone with you, walking alongside you, can be very helpful in that regard. Those are the two things I brought to the table that I think are super important when it comes to building discipline. Is first off, knowing your why, and that's for whether you're accountable, you have an accountability partner or not. And the second is if you are the kind of person that self-motivation isn't enough of a reward, then you might need somebody else to walk alongside you, and that's okay. That might just be your personality. Okay, so those are the two things I brought. And then, he agreed with me on those things, but then he said, okay, I also want to tell you about a theory that I have. And this theory that Bob had, he called it the byproduct theory, okay? And he had come up with it, and I thought it was brilliant, and I think I asked him, I was like, can I share this with the guys? Because I feel like it would be very helpful. I mean, I think it'll be helpful for me, so I want to share it with you. So the byproduct theory, in short, basically says you shouldn't focus on the goal. You should focus on the actions. And that's a very subtle, idea, but it's kind of profound. Here's why. So he used it in his life because there was a while where he hadn't been working out. He had kind of gotten into not great shape, right? And he's like, I want to get back on the train. I want to start working out again. I want to be healthy. And so he's like, what I did was I didn't focus on the goal. I made the goal the byproduct. So what did I do? I said, every day I'm going to go to the gym for a couple minutes. I'm just going to go to the gym. I'll go to the locker room, sit down for a little bit. I'm just going to go. So he created a very small, manageable habit. It's very manageable. He's like, I just go to the gym, and I'm going to stand around for a little bit, go to the locker room, leave. A couple minutes every day. And then after he had created that habit, he was there. He would go to the gym. He'd be like, well, I'm already here. I might as well start lifting some stuff, right? So he'd lift a little bit of stuff, and he'd start getting better at that, right? And then he's like, okay, well, if I'm lifting stuff, I might as well go ahead and work on my form and work on lifting stuff well. So he started doing that. And he's like, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well have a program. And so he made these little small manageable goals, and he just made them into habits. And then before you know it, he has a steady workout routine, and this goal of getting in shape, he's accomplished it, but it was a byproduct. It wasn't like he was like every day he's like, I'm going to go into the gym and get swole, and I'm going to get in really great shape. No. He said, I'm just going to go to the gym. Then I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to lift a couple things. Then I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to lift a couple things, and I'm going to become good at lifting a couple things, and so on and so forth. And before you know it, you've accomplished the goal. And that's his whole byproduct theory. And undergirding that theory, which I thought was really interesting, he said this, and I wrote it down because I was like, oh, damn, that's really good. He said, master your domain and then grow your domain. And that really works with any area of your life. But I thought it was pretty brilliant because what is something that instills confidence? Well, it's being knowledgeable on the topic or the thing that you're doing. And so after a while, my buddy Bob, he'd go to the gym. He'd say, well, I'm pretty damn good at going to the gym every day. I do that. That's pretty simple. He's like, well, that domain is mastered. That domain of going to the gym, it's mastered. So he's like, well, I might as well expand my domain a little bit. Maybe now I'm going to start lifting things because I go to the gym and now I go to the gym and I lift things. So he masters that domain. And he's like, well, okay, now let's start lifting things well. So he masters that domain. And his domain is slowly growing, right? And he's starting to really flesh out this goal of his. And one day you look up and your goal is accomplished. And so that's kind of the beauty of his byproduct theory that he gave to me. I was like, oh man, that's really, really helpful. And you can apply that to so many areas of your life. Like if you want to finish a book in a week, don't go into it saying, I need to finish this book in a week. Go into it and say, I'm going to every night grab my book, plant my ass in a seat, and read a couple chapters. I'm going to do that. That's manageable. Anybody can do that. So you do that, and then at the end of the week, or maybe it's a little bit more than a week, maybe it doesn't happen in the exact time frame you want, but you're still working towards it, and you're just trying to focus on the action of I'm picking up the book, I'm sitting down, I'm reading the book. All of a sudden, you look up one day, and your book's done. Maybe it was a week and a half, whatever, but you got it done, and it was a byproduct. It wasn't like you were so laser focused on the goal that you forgot how to get there. And that's the whole idea behind the byproduct theory. Thought that was super, super helpful. So that's basically the three things I would recommend for building discipline. Is like, okay, well, first off, know your why. Why are you doing the thing you want to do? And it's good to remind yourself to kind of motivate yourself to say, okay, this is why I'm doing this. Number two is if you are the kind of person that needs accountability, or even if you're not, it's still helpful to find an accountability partner to actually walk alongside you and to push you and to help you accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish. And then three is this idea of the byproduct theory, which is, don't look 10 miles down the road. Look at the next step. What do you have to do that's small, it's manageable, you can accomplish. Focus on each action. Don't focus on the goal, because the goal is theoretical, right? But the action's right in front of you. It's glaring. It's staring you right in the face. So you can do the action. It's small. Just go do it, just knock out that action. And then build upon that. Master your domain, grow your domain. I thought that was great. So that's all I have to say on discipline. I hope you enjoyed. I know that I'm going to implement that byproduct theory into my life. Thank you, Bob, for giving me that idea and letting me share that with all the men out here, because I do think that is a very helpful way to look at accomplishing goals and building discipline. So that's all I have to say on building discipline. Hope you enjoyed. Let's get on to section 2. This one's a great one. All right, let's go. Okay, everyone, it's 2024, and it's February. We've probably all failed at our New Year's resolutions. It happens, okay? If your New Year's resolution, however, was to become a good man, and you don't have my book, well, then you're missing out, okay? The book is called Modern Misery by Reuben. That's myself. It's how 21st century man can overcome his iniquities and release the badass gentleman within. There's a link in the description. If you're interested, go check it out. All right, back to the podcast. All right, everyone. So in the second part of the podcast today, we are going to be looking at a amazing instance of manly grit and courage and heroism. So I'll explain the video real fast. In Espanola, New Mexico, there was a man buying something at the counter of a gas station, and he walks out of the gas station, and all of a sudden there's an active shooter situation, right? And this shooter is just shooting at the gas station. He's breaking the glass. Everybody in the gas station drops down, gets on the floor, right? So this guy just bought something. He walks out. He's walking out the door. He sees this guy with a gun starting to shoot at everyone, and he rushes back into the gas station, and he sees this woman laying on the ground, right? And she's kind of in like the line of fire. First thing he does is plants his body like on top of her to shield her from the bullets. Like just covers her, like just wraps himself around her and covers her and tries to shield her from the bullets. And just like no hesitation, just a beautiful, beautiful moment of just extreme courage. And this is kind of a call to action, I guess, to you and I. Is like we need to continue as men to develop this virtue of courage, because when shit hits the fan, it's our job to protect those around us, especially the vulnerable, right? And so this guy's name, I'll shout him out, okay? The guy's name was Enrico, what's his last name? Enrico Trujillo, okay? And I'm probably butchering his last name. But he's actually a firefighter in real life. And I had a buddy who's an EMT, works with firefighters all the time. And that job requires a hell of a lot of courage, hell of a lot of grit. And so that was kind of second nature to Enrico, right? But then it was really cool because there's different angles of from like video within the gas station. And all the other men were doing the same exact thing. They were protecting the women and the children. And it's really an inspiring video. I'm going to try and show it here on the channel, but if not, if it's not able to work, then go click on the link in the description below. Super awesome, just instance of manly courage and healthy masculinity coming into play and fulfilling its role as protector in society. And it's beautiful. Good for you, Enrico, man. This is awesome. This is why we need to foster this virtue of courage in our lives, because you never know when something like this happens, and you want to be the person that does the right thing, and he 100% did. Just shielded the woman instantly. No second thought. It's a really beautiful thing. So if you haven't seen the video, go check it out. If I can't get it to show on this channel. And yeah, that's the second part of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Let's be courageous, guys. Let's do it. All right, so moving on to section 3, Reuben rants. Let's go. All right, so the question is, can you become a millionaire in 10 years in America as a regular Joe, regular man? There's a myth out there that you can't. And I've tried to dispel in previous episodes. I've ranted about this idea of I can't versus I won't. Stop saying I can't and just start saying I won't. That's fine. I do that all the time. I think it's a manly trait, actually, to just say I won't because I have different priorities, and this is not what I'm choosing to do with my life. That's fine. That's totally fine. But don't say I can't, because I can't shuts all the doors. It limits you to an insane degree. So the question is, can you become a millionaire in 10 years in America? The answer is yes. What do you have to give up? Well, almost all your time. And it's asking a lot, but you can do it. So don't say I can't. You could do it. But for most people, this is not the path. It's certainly not the path for me. But here's how. I'll tell you a little story to how I got to this point. So when I dropped out of college, it was a very dark time for me. I wrote about it in my book. I was very aimless, very lonely. I did not know what I was going to do with my life. And so the one true love I had in life was money. And yes, it's bad. I know. It's terrible. And I'm not saying that was an honorable position to have, but I was very low, and I was like, well, the one thing is, like, I guess money would be cool, you know. I was very depressed. It was bad. But the point is, money was top of mind for me. So I was like, well, how can I make the most money in the shortest amount of time with the skills that I have, the qualifications that I have? And I didn't have a ton at the time. I could landscape. I could fix things. I've always been good at fixing things. And I could remodel. Those are the things I could do. And I was like, well, how do I make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time? And the first natural, organic answer that came to me was the oil rigs. I know, it's crazy. And it's rough, man. The oil rigs, I looked into it. It seems really shitty. So you're talking 75-hour plus a week work weeks. That's a lot of time. It's your life out there. When you're out there on the oil rig, that's what you do. You're an oil rig worker, right? And here's the thing. You start out making close to 100K. Like, not exactly 100K, but close to it. And after 2 years, you're 100% making over 100K. And after a couple years, you're making 120, 130K if you're willing to move up and make those calls, right? And I was like, okay, I'm a decently smart guy. I could figure out a way to rise in the ranks and become a vehicle operator and make more money that way. And so a lot of these companies also, that almost all of them give you a per diem, a certain amount of money set aside each day for just living expenses. Some of them pay for your housing. Some of them pay for your food. They all pay for your uniforms. So your cost of living, if you're willing to sacrifice, is incredibly low. So after 10 years, assuming that you make an average of 120, 130K a year, you could theoretically be a cash millionaire. That's assuming you don't invest or anything like that, which is a smart thing to do. But you could work for 10 years and be a millionaire. So people say that America is no longer the land of opportunity. I say bullshit. You can do it. See, there used to be this idea in America, like this is what America's really founded on, which is like if a man is willing to forego certain pleasures, certain comforts, certain nice things that he would like to have in order to make a living for himself, he can do it. You can become a millionaire in America in close to 10 years if you're just willing to live a certain way, a certain lifestyle, a very frugal lifestyle. You can be a millionaire. Now, I'm not saying that's what your goal should be in life. That shouldn't be your sole goal. And that's why I didn't do it. Like that world is rough, man. We're talking that's the world of cocaine and alcoholism and prostitution. Like, that's not my world. Okay, I don't want to be a part of that. It's a rough world to be in. You've got people who have all kinds of messed up pasts in the oil rig industry, and there's a bunch of great guys too. And I'm not knocking it. Great job, man. That's rough work, very respectable work. But you're in with a rough crowd, and with a bunch of probably aimless people who just make money to blow it the next day and don't have any plan for their life, and that makes a lot of depressed and angry people as well. So, not the world I wanted to be a part of. But I'm not going to say that I couldn't have become a millionaire in 10 years. I could. Money, that amount of money is not that important to me. I'm not going to forego 10 years of my life to do it. But you could do it. So the whole rant I'm trying to give you is just to open your brain channels to different levels of knowledge. Just say, hey, you could do it. You could do it. So stop saying that America isn't the land of opportunity. If you really, really, really are willing to forego 10 years of your life, which I don't think you should do, but if you are, you can become a millionaire in 10 years. I thought that was pretty cool. And I was like, and that's with no qualifications, man. That's just going out there and saying, I work hard. I'll show up on time. And, I'm going to do this very physical work, and you're going to pay me for it. And after 10 years, yes, if I move up, I can become a millionaire pretty easy. There's a bunch of ways to become a millionaire in America. It is still the land of opportunity. There's more opportunity here than there ever has been. And I'm just sick and tired of the messages of like, oh, the American dream is dead. That's bullshit. It's not. It's not dead. So American dream, alive and well. That's probably not the path that you want to take. It's not the path I wanted to take. But don't say I can't. Say I won't. That's all I have to say on Section 3 of the Manuscript Podcast. Reuben Rants. I hope you enjoyed. All right, everyone. That does it for this episode of the Manuscript Podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. It would mean a lot. Have a great day. As always, remember, there's a better life out there. Let's get after it. Peace.